Hello and welcome to today's trauma-sensitive yoga class. Today's practice is going to be a gentle floor sequence, and you will need or at least it will be helpful to have a folded blanket and a couple of yoga blocks. If you don't have the blocks, that's okay. You can grab a couple of rolls of toilet paper, or if toward the end when we do supported fish pose, you can take your folded blanket and roll it to support you. The folded blanket helps support our spine in seated poses. It can also help support our knees when we are on our knees. So we'll begin today in a comfortable seat. You can sit with your legs crossed at the shins. You can cross at the ankles. That kind of helps you tilt your pelvis forward. You can also sit on top of your knees or even grab a chair and sit in a chair. Go ahead and find a comfortable seated position. Root down into either your legs or your sitting bones, depending on how you're sitting, and allow the crown of your head to draw up toward the ceiling. You can place one hand on your belly and the other at your chest, and if you'd like, you can gently allow your eyes to close. And we'll begin to restrict the breath to the nostrils, breathing in and out through the nose. If you're congested and you're unable, just breathe in whatever way is comfortable for you. We'll begin to build a 3-part breath here. So at the beginning of the 3-part breath, we will inhale into our belly. So the hand that is on the belly will feel it rise on the inhale. And on the exhale, belly will lower. And that's the first part of the 3-part breath. On the second part, we'll inhale, first feeling the belly rise, and then allowing the rib cage to expand. And then the rib cage will lower first on the exhale, and then the belly. And that's the second part. So in, breathing into the belly, and then allowing the rib cage to expand. Exhaling, allowing the rib cage to soften, and then the belly to soften. And then for the third part, we'll breathe first into the belly, then into the rib cage, and then we'll allow the heart center to rise, is where the upper hand is placed. And on the exhale, we'll reverse that, allowing first the heart center to soften, then the rib cage, and then the belly. And instead of directing you through some breaths, I'll give you a couple minutes of silence so that you can do the 3-part breath at any pacing that's comfortable for you. So remember, we inhale first into the belly, then to expand the rib cage, and at the top of the inhale, the heart center rises. You can pause for a moment at the top of the breath, and then as you exhale, the heart center lowers, rib cage softens, and then the belly relaxes. So take a couple minutes and breathe at your own pace. And do one more. You can allow your hands to come back to your knees, your eyes to slowly open. And you can continue to keep the breath flowing in and out through the nose in a smooth and comfortable pace. Go ahead and do a gentle neck stretch. So we'll take the left hand and place it on top of the head and tilt the neck gently to the left. And release and switch side. Take the right hand, place it on top of the head, and gently move the neck to the right. And release. Allow the shoulders to roll backwards. Continue to draw the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. And reverse, bringing the shoulders in circles moving forwards. Good. And then rooting down through the sitting bones, keeping the shoulders down. We're going to bring the arms up, trying to have the arms be parallel to one another and keeping those shoulder blades moving down your spine while pressing through your sitting bones and drawing the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. Lower belly is gently engaged. Go ahead and interlace your fingers and allow yourself to stretch gently to the right, getting a stretch through your left side. Try to keep that left sitting bone pressing down into the ground. And come back to center, and then stretch to the left. Try to keep this right shoulder from coming forward, and then keep your chest open so that stretch really is in the right side. Good. Come back to center, release the hands, and on an exhale, lower the hands back down. Good. On an inhale, we'll press through the sitting bones, growing nice and tall. And on an exhale, place the left hand on the left knee, the right hand behind you, and gently twist to the right. On the inhale, reach the crown of the head toward the ceiling. And on the exhale, allow yourself to go just a little deeper into the twist. And come back to center. Inhale to again press through the sitting bones, raising the crown of the head. And exhale, place the right hand on the right knee, left hand behind you, and gently twist to the left. And come back to center. And we're going to come into a tabletop position. So you can unfold your blanket so that it's a little bit wider and place your knees on top of your folded blanket. And you'll want your knees about hip width apart and your hips directly over your knees, your shoulders directly over the wrists. We'll spread the fingers wide. We'll press down into the fingers, not allowing ourselves to sink into our shoulders, but out of our shoulders to form a nice tabletop position. And we're going to do just a gentle extension and contraction with the legs. We'll move one at a time, and we'll move with the breath. So on an inhale, you can bring the left foot back a little bit, and on an exhale, bring it in, allow your forehead to round, and your knee to come in as far as it would like. Inhale to extend the leg back, and exhale, rounding the spine, bringing the knee in. Inhale, bring it back, and exhale to round. We'll do 2 more on this side. And place the left leg down, and we'll switch to the right. So we'll inhale to bring the right leg back, and exhale, bring the right knee in toward the chest, allowing the spine to round and the chin to come toward the chest. Inhale, bring the head back to neutral, extend the right leg back, and exhale to curl in, bringing the knee toward the forehead toward the knee. We'll do a few more. My daughter is doing virtual PE in the other room, so if you're hearing sounds in the background, that's what those are. Good. And come back in to tabletop position. And we're going to go ahead and cup up onto your knees. You can bring your hands to your hips, and we're going to extend the right foot out. Start with the feet and the knees forming 2 90-degree angles, and then we will adjust. So you can begin to hinge forward. If you only hinge a little bit, that's fine. You don't want this left hip to open, so hug the left knee forward. And you don't want this right knee to go past the right ankle. So if you feel like you could move a little bit deeper into the stretch, we'll walk that right foot forward and come a little bit deeper. You want to keep your lower belly engaged here, not sinking into it. And if you press to the top of the left foot, that will relieve some of the pressure on the left knee. You can put your hands on this right knee or on your hips, whichever you'd like. And continue to draw those smooth, deep breaths in and out through your nostrils if you're able. Good. Come back up. We'll bring the right leg back underneath us and switch. Putting the left leg up, you can start at a 90-degree angle or walk that foot forward a little bit and begin to hinge forward. Really going for a stretch through this right quadra, I can't say the word today, you know what I mean, quad. And maybe a little bit in the right hip. So you can hinge forward, but keep the lower belly engaged. So you're pulling these frontal hip points up, even while you're allowing yourself to hinge forward. You don't want that left knee to go past the left ankle, so keep walking it forward if that knee starts to extend past the ankle. Once you find a good edge, you can place your hand on your knee or your hips and take a few deep breaths. Good. And we'll come back into tabletop position. And from here, we're going to go ahead and do a stretch on the wrist. So we're going to bring the fingertips to face the knees, the top of your wrists on the ground. Now you can bring them closer to you, kind of hinging back if you'd like. Just find that spot where you feel like it's a good edge for you. It's really more about your wrists than it is about your hip or knee placement. And you could also do one at a time if that's too much pressure to do both wrists at the same time. So do one and then the other. Good. And then we will do the reverse. So we'll keep the palms down, but turn the fingertips back toward the knees. And again here, you can adjust however you need to get that nice stretch in the wrist. And you can again just do one at a time if doing two at a time is too much pressure on your wrists. And continue to breathe. Good. Bring your wrists back into neutral, and we'll go ahead and sit back on the legs. So you can bring your heels out to the side and sit on your heels. If you would prefer to sit up on a block, you can do that as well. We'll do a couple poses in this position. So we're going to start with a cat-cow. So hands on the knees, and we'll inhale to draw the chest forward, lifting the chin, drawing the belly forward, and exhale to allow the back to round, shoulders to come forward, head to drop. And we'll move with the breath. So inhale to pull the chest forward, belly forward, lift the chin, and exhale, rounding the back, bringing the belly button back, shoulders to come forward, chin to come down. Do a few at a slow pace, linking your breath to your movement. And come back into neutral spine, and we're going to come into eagle arms or hug arms. So we'll bring the arms straight out to the side, and then we're going to cross the right elbow under the left, and you can either grab your shoulders and give yourself a hug, or you can turn your palms to face each other and come into eagle arms. Shoulders are moving down away from your ears, and elbows are coming up, trying to form a right angle where your elbows are parallel to the floor. Try to keep that length through your spine. And breathe. Good. And uncross your arms and bring them back out. And this time we'll cross the left elbow underneath the right, and again you can come into a hug, trying to keep those elbows parallel with the ground, or you can turn the palms to face each other and come into eagle arms. Good. And release. Unwinding, maybe doing a couple little circles with the shoulders. Good. So now we're going to turn to face the front of the mat, and you can turn your blanket as well if you'd like to continue to have that for support from your knees. And then we're going to come back up, and we'll start with the hands on the hips. We're going to work our way into Gait Pose on the knees. So keeping the left knee on the ground, we'll extend the right foot out. So the knee is pointing forward, so your foot's slightly internally rotated. And try not to let this right hip come up too much. It might a little bit, but try as much as you can to keep the right hip in line with the left. Then we will bring the arms straight out, and we'll feel the energy coming out between the two fingertips like we would in Warrior II. You can even take a moment to bring the palms of the hands up toward the ceiling. Feel those shoulder blades really come down. And then keeping that same feeling in the shoulder blades, bring the palms back down. Good. Keep the lower belly engaged so you're not bringing your belly forward. And we'll go ahead and drop the right hand to the right leg, lift the left arm up, and then stretch to the right. Now don't put pressure on your right knee here. So this hand can be higher up or lower than the knee, but you don't want to put pressure on the knee. Keep breathing. Good. And then come back to that extension of the arms. Fingertips are moving away from each other. And then we're going to keep the right leg out, but bend to the left. So if you'd like to, you can take one of your blocks and place it down on the ground. You can even take 2 blocks. Because we're going to put this left hand on the ground and stretch the right arm over. You can bring that left arm all the way down to the floor if you'd like, but it might be helpful to put a block there. That helps you not collapse in that left side. Good. And then come back up. Bring the hands to the hips and bring the right leg back in. You can move the block to the other side and we'll extend the left leg out now. So you've got the left knee pointing forward, hips level with one another. And we'll go ahead and extend the arms straight out again. And allow the left hand to come down to the left leg, right arm stretches up, and then over to the left. And come back up, arms extended out, feeling the energy moving your fingertips away from one another. And then allow the right hand to drop down either to the block or blocks or the ground. And allow the left arm to stretch. It's a similar feeling that we get in an extended side angle with that nice big stretch through the left side of the body. And then come back to neutral, fingers pulling away from each other. Bring your hands to your hips and bring the left knee in. Good. And we'll turn now to face the short side of the mat again. And turn your blanket. And we're going to come into puppy pose. If for any reason puppy pose isn't comfortable and you want to move into downward dog, you can. So we'll start with I'm going to actually move back a little bit. Start in a tabletop and then begin to walk the hands forward, allowing the chest to come down toward the mat until your forehead reaches the mat. Now, if the forehead has difficulty reaching the mat, you can put a block or blocks underneath your forehead to make it more accessible. Or you can tuck your toes and lift your hips up and back and come into downward dog. Trying to keep the hips over the knees here. And your knees are shoulder width apart. You've got your fingers spread wide. And your breath is flowing smooth and deep. Good. And walk your hands back in. Up. Then you can place the blocks back behind you. You may or may not need your blocks for this, but grab them in case you will. So you're going to put the blocks behind your toes. And we'll go ahead and reach the arms back. You can come all the way down to your feet at first, and then lift the hips up. This is a version of Camel Pose. You could have your hands all the way down onto the ground if you prefer, or if this is too much, you can be all the way up, hands on your lower back, just lifting that chest up and back. Whichever version you prefer. But lift those frontal hip points up towards your rib cage, like you're making almost like a crunch. in whichever version you're in, whether you're in the camel that's straight up, or back on the blocks, or hands on the ground. Do a couple more breaths. Good. Lower the hips. Bring your blocks off to the side. Move your folded blanket back toward the middle back of your mat. And we're going to move to sit on the blanket as we come into a straddle pose. So for straddle, you can have your knees open and feet on the ground. You can work your legs straighter, but still keep a generous bend in them, or you can have your legs all the way straight. Any of those versions are great. Probably a good idea to sit up on a folded blanket. That helps support your lower back. So we're going to inhale. We're going to lift the arms straight up, really rooting down into the sitting bones. And on an exhale, we'll begin to fold forward. Work on finding that place that's an edge for you. You can keep the feet flexed if they're working towards straight. You want to find that place in your body where it's a little bit challenging, but not painful. And only you know where that is, and that point will change from day to day. So just find where your edge is today and take a few breaths. Good. You walk your hands back up. We'll inhale again, lifting up your hands, and exhale, bring your hands behind you and allow your chest to draw up. Chin can come up toward the ceiling. We'll do a gentle back bend in the straddle pose. Good. And come back to neutral. We'll inhale to raise the arms again, and we'll exhale to bend to the right. Try to keep your chest open. And if you want to bring your chest towards your knee, that works a different part of your body, but you're welcome to do that if that's your preference. Good. Come back up to neutral. I'll be right back and begin to gently stretch to the left side. Come back up to center. And then put your hands underneath your knees and gently draw your knees up. And we're going to move into deer pose from here. So you've got your knees wide, your feet on the ground, and we're going to internally rotate this left knee and externally rotate the right. So the left knee comes in, the right knee draws out, and we come into deer pose. So we're working towards having both of the legs making a 90-degree angle. We're rooting down strongly through the right sitting bone, drawing the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. And you can take your left hand and place it on your right knee and do a gentle twist to the right if you'd like. Good. Then we'll bring both of the knees back up, coming back to center, and then we'll allow the right knee to fall in, left knee to open to the left, making two right angles or something close therein with your knees and your legs, pressing through the left sitting bone to grow tall. And you can stay right here, or you can put your right hand on your left knee and just do a gentle twist to the left. Good. And bring the knees back up. You can draw the knees back together, and we're going to work our way onto our backs into supported fish pose. So if you don't have blocks, you can take your blanket, roll it up, and place it behind you. If you do have blocks, you can put both of them in a line, and you want that top of the blocks to support your head. So once you lay back, you can adjust that height so that the top of the block is supporting your head. Your palms can be up, and you can bend your knees here if that's more comfortable. If you're able, you can work them towards straight. And we'll take several breaths here in the supported fish pose. And you can use your arms and your elbows to come up so that you can move the blocks off to the side. Lie back down, and you can hug your knees into your chest. Make gentle circles with the knees. And then you can move into a resting pose of your choosing. Ankles can be out and knees in. You can roll onto your left side if you're pregnant. Or you can extend your legs, maybe taking that rolled blanket and putting it underneath your knees. You can turn the palms up, walk the shoulder blades together. I invite you to stay here in this resting pose for about 5 minutes or so, and allow your breathing and your body to become still. Eyes can be opened or closed. And at the end of the 5 minutes, I'll bring you out with the crystal singing bowl. When you hear the sound, you can begin to bring some gentle movement to your fingers and your toes. So go ahead and take about 5 minutes now and allow yourself to come to stillness. And slowly allow your eyes to open. Use your hands to help support yourself as you work your way back up to a comfortable seated position, moving nice and slowly. Thank you so much for joining me for today's yoga practice, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.